Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk about something that I think is really important and something that I know a lot of us can relate to: feeling miserable or helpless. If you're feeling this way, I want you to know that you are not condemned to this state by a deity outside of yourself. In fact, everything that takes place in your world is just a movement within God. Now, the term "a movement within God" is a lecture by Neville Goddard, where he addresses the true identity of God. Normally speaking, we think of God as something that lies outside of us, and reasonably so, because that's the only interpretation that we've come across in our lives. However, Neville says that God lies inside of us, which is also something that is commonly spoken of in other circles, but the clarity of Neville's insight regarding this matter is something that is unparalleled, and that's what makes this lecture so valuable in my opinion. So let's begin. We are told in the Bible that in the very beginning, the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters and things came into being. This means that everything, your misery, your helplessness, your joy, your sorrow, no matter what it is, comes into being by a movement within God. And God is not some deity outside of yourself. You are not a helpless being, but the operant power of God. You can move without moving physically because your eternal body is all imagination. In Scripture, this is referred to as Jesus Christ. You are God's power and wisdom. So, if you find yourself in a place where you're feeling miserable and helpless, it's not because of some deity outside of you, but because you either knowingly or unknowingly fell into that state. Every conceivable situation that you can think of exists now as a fact in God, but it can't be made visible to you until you occupy it. You see, you are God's operant power. Everything in this world needs man as the agent to express it. Whether it be hate or love, joy or sorrow, all things require man to express it. We glorify or condemn the man, but he simply represents a state which God entered knowingly or unknowingly and remained there until the state was externalized. Now here's the thing: everyone is free to choose the state they wish to occupy. You imagine yourself into your present state. If you don't like it, you must imagine yourself out of it and into another. It's all a matter of movement. We are told in the Bible that He chose us in Him before the foundation of the world. Collectively forming one glorious being, we conceived a play, and speaking as one being, we said, "It's time for the play to begin." Then, individually we said, "I am," and the play began. We conceived a play containing every horrible thing as well as every lovely thing in the world. Every problem and its solution were conceived. In fact, you can't think of something that wasn't in that original conception. Then it was time to start, and saying simply, "I am," God took upon Himself that which He had to conceive, and your journey into this fabulous world began. So, no matter what you're experiencing now, you are not condemned by some being outside of yourself, for you either wittingly or unwittingly fell into the state, be it good, bad, or indifferent. So now the question is, how do we move? We are told in the very beginning of Genesis that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. And in the book of Joshua, which is the Hebraic name for Jesus, the Lord said, "Wherever the sole of your foot will tread upon, I've given you." This means that you can choose where you want the sole of your foot to tread, for the world is yours and all within it. But remember, whatever you tread upon will be given to you. When I speak of Joshua or Jesus, I'm not talking about any historical creature, but the Christ in you was the hope of glory. I want you to realize that Jesus Christ is in you as your own wonderful human imagination. So when I say God became man that man may become God, I mean imagination became you that you may become all imagination. A lot of people have trouble associating imagination with God. They think of God as some being that created the world but remained apart from it. But when I use the word imagination, I hope that the separation between God and ourselves disappears. The whole vast world is all imagination. Realists think they're closer to the truth, but they don't realize they're dictating nothing more than their own imagination. They laugh at those who are mystically inclined, but I want to tell you, leave them alone and go your way in confidence that what you're imagining you already are and will become. You imagined yourself into the state you're now occupying, and you can imagine yourself into any state you desire to express. No outside deity moved you into the state of misery, you did it yourself. But tonight, as you sit here, you can mentally shut out the facts of life and move anywhere in your imagination. Do that, and no one looking at you physically can tell where you have mentally moved. And if you dwell in imagination where you would like to be and see what you would see were you there, you will have moved within your own being. Persist, and everything here will die because of your movement within God. The key is to focus on what you want and to keep that image in your mind's eye. Don't let the negative thoughts and circumstances around you cloud your vision. Keep your focus on the positive and keep moving forward in your imagination. Think about my brother Victor, who learned how to move into riches when he had nothing. He stood before one of the largest buildings in the island and saw J.N. Goddard and Sons on the marquee instead of the existing F.N. Roach and Company. He did this every day until the idea was fixed in his mind's eye. 2 years later, the business failed, but when the building was put up for sale, the man we hardly knew bought it for my brother, and the sign was changed from F.N. Roach and Company to J.N. Goddard and Sons. My brother moved his imagination, and you can do the same. Remember that you are not condemned by some being outside of yourself, for you either knowingly or unknowingly fell into the state you're in. But now, it's time to move and to take control of your own life. You are the operant power of God, and you have the power to change your present state and to create the life you desire. So go ahead, take that first step in your imagination and see where it leads you. It's important to remember that you are not alone in this journey. We are all part of one glorious being, collectively forming one body. We all agreed to dream this world into being, and now we are all on our separate journeys, falling into different states of consciousness and blaming others for the discords in our world. But that's okay, because one day we will return and all the discords will be resolved into perfect harmony as we expand beyond what we were prior to the play. And as you begin to move in your imagination, don't be afraid to let go of the past and to let go of the things that no longer serve you. Remember that the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters in the beginning, and that the Lord said, "Wherever the sole of your foot will tread upon, I have given you. So choose wisely where you want to tread, and remember that whatever you tread upon will be given to you." As you begin to move in your imagination, you will start to see the world in a different light. You will start to see the love, the beauty, and the potential in everything around you. You will start to see the possibilities and the opportunities that were always there but that you couldn't see before. So how do we go about moving from a state of misery or helplessness to one of joy and empowerment? The first step is to understand that the state we are in is a product of our own imagination. We have imagined ourselves into this state, whether we did so knowingly or unknowingly, and just as we imagined ourselves into this state, we can also imagine ourselves out of it. The key is to focus on the state we want to occupy. It may seem difficult at first, especially if we are deeply entrenched in a state of misery or helplessness. But the more we focus on the state we want to be in, the more we begin to see it as a possibility. And as we begin to see it as a possibility, we start to take small steps towards it. One way to focus on the state we want to be in is to visualize it. Take a moment to close your eyes and imagine yourself in the state you want to occupy. See yourself happy, empowered, and in control. See yourself surrounded by love and support. See yourself doing the things you love to do. Hold on to this image as long as you can. The more you can hold on to this image, the more it begins to take shape in your mind. Another way to focus on the state we want to be in is to surround ourselves with people and things that remind us of the state. For example, if we want to be in a state of joy, we can surround ourselves with things that bring us joy. This could be a favorite book, a piece of music, or a photograph of a loved one. We can also surround ourselves with people who embody the state we want to be in. If we want to be in a state of empowerment, we can surround ourselves with people who are empowering and uplifting. It's also important to understand that the state we want to be in is not something that can be achieved overnight. It takes time and effort to move from one state to another. But the more we focus on the state we want to be in, the more we begin to see progress. And as we see progress, we start to believe that it is possible. It's also important to remember that we are not alone on this journey. We are all part of one glorious being, and we are all moving together. We are all part of the same play, and we are all working towards the same goal. And as we move towards this goal, we start to see that we are all connected. We start to see that we are all part of the same movement. So, if you find yourself in a state of misery or helplessness, remember that you are not condemned to this state by a deity outside of yourself. Remember that you are the operant power of God, that you can move without moving physically. Remember that you are God's power and wisdom, and that you are free to choose the state you wish to occupy. Remember that you are not alone, and that we are all part of the same movement. And most importantly, remember that you can imagine yourself out of this state and into another. It's all a matter of movement. Now the question is, how do we move from our current state to the state we desire to be in? The first step is to understand that our thoughts and beliefs shape our reality. If we are constantly thinking negative thoughts and believing that we are stuck in a certain state, then that is exactly where we will remain. But if we start to shift our thoughts and beliefs, we can start to see change in our reality. One way to do this is through the practice of visualization. Visualizing yourself in a state of happiness and abundance can help to shift your thoughts and beliefs towards that reality. It is important to be specific and detailed in your visualization and to feel the emotions and sensations of already being in that state. This will help to create a strong connection between your thoughts and your reality. Another way to move towards a desired state is with the power of affirmations. Affirmations are positive statements that we repeat to ourselves, and they help to reprogram our subconscious mind. For example, if we want to move from a state of scarcity to a state of abundance, we can repeat affirmations such as "I am abundant" or "money flows easily into my life." These affirmations help to shift our thoughts and beliefs towards abundance and can help to manifest that reality in our lives. It is also important to take action towards our desired state. Visualization and affirmations can help to shift our thoughts and beliefs, but it is the action that we take that brings our desires into reality. If we want to move from a state of misery to a state of joy, we can start by doing things that bring us joy. This could be anything from listening to uplifting music, to spending time with loved ones, to taking a walk in nature. The key is to start taking small steps towards our desired state and to trust that the universe is supporting us and manifesting that reality. In conclusion, if you find yourself in a state of misery or helplessness, remember that you are not condemned to that state by a deity outside of yourself. Everything that takes place in your world is but a movement within God. You are the operant power of God. You have the power to imagine yourself into any state you desire to express, and we can move towards that state through visualization, affirmations, and taking action. Trust in the power of your own imagination and believe that you can manifest the reality you desire. Thank you for watching the entire video.